And what we want to discuss today is the requirements for membership. The FDIA has been going for a long time. In fact, if you have a look at the shirt here, we are looking at established 1999. So, we have been looking at membership over the years and trying to get more membership. And one of the greatest problems with membership is the requirements to become a member. And we don't want to lower the standards to become a member. But however, this past year, 2024, we did discuss where the downfall is. So we've changed it a little bit. In 24, we also added in 2 new levels, a prospect member and a conditional member. So we're going to go through those, and we're going to just go through what's required and explain what is the requirements. So the first one is going to be a prospect member. So do you want to tell us what that's about?
So the target market for prospect members around the discussion was to allow companies that are newly established within the industry in order to get involved with the FDIA. So this is a maximum of only 2 years membership of prospect member. And there's a lot of the criteria that gets waived over that 2-year period. So the need for a designer, an SAQCC designer, inspections and that kind of stuff are just, as I say, waived for the first 2 years to allow the company to grow and to be educated and to associate with the Fire Detection Industry Association, which I think is a benefit, as specifically if we get the companies new, it will help them grow within the industry and hopefully in the correct way.
2 important things there. It should be new companies. There are some old established companies that have never been members. So it's to get them into the fold, to go like, guys, there's a voluntary organization. However, we do try and educate the people. We do tell end users and that use FDIA members because we're boffins. So there are some older companies that are members, but it's aimed mostly at the newer companies so that they can be educated to be assisted in doing the work properly and doing the proper kind of work. And then the second thing is we want it to be only for 2 years. So within 2 years, you should be able to grow your company to the point of at least becoming a conditional member if you're not going to go all the way to a full member. So that's what a prospect member is about.
Okay.
Website. On the website, you're going to just be listed. If you go onto the website, you'll see you got a full member, conditional member, and then a prospect member. All that it states there is that Joe Blogs, fire detection, and a contact number. There's no further knowledge. There's no further input on that. It's just to show that you do exist. When you get a bit further up the scale, there's a bit more information shown on the website.
Then touching on the conditional member. So that is somebody that has the SAQCC designer, that ticks a lot of the boxes. However,
No. Doesn't need a designer.
Okay.
But he must have a commissioner.
Okay, yeah, my apologies. Yeah. So needs a SAQCC commissioner.
Correct.
And it needs to have an observation done in terms of having copies of the standards, having the correct service tools, understanding the process behind servicing and installation. So it's like a preliminary check to say that you do have the groundwork to be working within that sector, whether it's on the installation or service side.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes. And also, for instance, a lot of subcontractors would fall into this because they don't have the facilities or the manpower to have a dedicated designer. So they can then get a design from a SAQCC designer working for another company or maybe from a supplier, and they are doing the installation, and they just need to, as Hilton says, have the observation done. And this is where a lot of confusion comes from. And an observation is somebody coming to look at your office, say, have you got the standards? Does the technician know how to use a multimeter? And that you actually do exist and you have got an idea of what's happening.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Then obviously installation member, that is a full member.
Correct.
So there, I know we have discussed it, and we've decreased the number of inspections from 3 down to 1.
Yep.
It will be a very stringent 1 detection, and only under once the system, as per the norm, needs to be compliant, needs to comply to the standards. There needs to be an understanding of the system done. Paperwork, once again, we're going to touch on it later. Paperwork seems to be a shortfall across the board.
Yep.
Responsible people. There's a lot of other aspects and a lot of end user requirements involved in that as well, which will be scrutinized under the inspection.
Yes.
So we're going to touch on that a bit more. Anything else on the installation side that you feels?
Yeah, the installation, you obviously got to have a designer now, registered designer.
Okay.
And that's for the slightly bigger companies and going bigger as well. There's a couple of huge companies. If you're working in the fire detection industry, surely you should have a designer. You know, you can't depend on somebody else doing the design for you all the time. So we're looking at people that are dedicated to doing fire detection and that they are interested in this. So they're not just there to make a quick buck, because you don't do that in the fire industry in any case. So you've got a dedicated designer working for you on your books. Obviously, you've got the commissioner, because you come up in general from a conditional installer. And then we've dropped down the requirements from 3 inspections to 1 inspection.
Okay.
However, if a complaint comes in, we have got a disciplinary process code.
Yeah.
And if a complaint does come in and it's found that we're all going to give our bestest installation to go and inspect, and another site of yours is not up to standard and a complaint comes in, then you will get scrutinized, and then you're going to have to jump through hoops and that to show that you are doing the job properly.
Okay, 100%. Just to touch on other membership categories, supplier. Obviously, everyone knows I've been on the supply side, well, both sides, but on the supply side, it was included that a designer is required. The reason being is generally contractors do reach out to suppliers in terms of design assistance and stuff like that. So that is included.
And also to butt in there, if you're selling fire detection equipment, then surely you should know how it's been installed and that it's been installed properly. Because ultimately, if the system doesn't work, the people are going to go, that's rubbish, it doesn't work properly. And it could be a design that's wrong. So that's why we said that suppliers need to have designers. And all of the suppliers that are on board, they're all reputable suppliers. They know their stuff. They've been in the industry for a long time. And they should have designers. I mean, you can't sell stuff if you don't know how it works.
Okay. Then consultants, obviously, consulting engineers, that's a push. We're encouraging consulting engineers to reach out, to get involved, being the Fire Detection Industry Association. Just to touch associate members, do you want to just touch on that?
Okay, you caught me off guard. The associate members are people that are involved with fire detection, but not directly. So you would have, for instance, a ventilation company where your ventilation is controlled from the fire side, and your ventilation is controlling smoke extract and all of that kind of thing. You're going to have the likes of third-party communication alarming systems. So, for instance, I don't want to use trade names, but REMRAD, where you link onto your communication portal and you're talking to a fire department. So it's associated with fire detection, but it's not directly fire detection.
Okay. And then obviously third-party inspections. As we know, you do require an inspection. This is not closed. There are requirements to become an inspector.
SANUS.
The more inspection companies we have, we are very
Most
open.
happy,
We are very open to bring in new ones. And they obviously fall under that.
Yeah.
The
only requirement is design. You've got to have a designer. You can't come and inspect my installation if you haven't got a designer and you don't know what I've done.
Okay.
And SANUS approved. And SANUS approved to the correct standard. So you can't come and tell me you're SANUS approved for inspecting cooker hoods. You've got to be according to the standards that we require, 10139, 322, and so on.
Okay.
And you are going to, if you are only 10139 approved, then you can only inspect that. You can't go and inspect the gas installation, for instance.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
But as we say, we have changed. We have changed the requirements.
Yeah.
We are encouraging more members to try and just build up the industry and to get things done correctly.
One of the problems that we have seen in the past is companies come to us and say, we can't abide by the inspection of a third party because the design was done by Joe Bloggs and it's not to standard. Come and speak to us, put your case on the table, and we will look at it. If it's outside your control, for instance, as you know, I'm a contractor, Hilton's a supplier. I've done an installation and the design was done by somebody else. I've done it, so the work is perfect, there's nothing wrong with it, but the design is not perfect, right? Come and speak to us and we will then look at it and say, all right, that's acceptable. But it still needs to have a third-party inspection done. And on that report is going to say it's not compliant because the fire doors are opening inwards instead of outwards. That is outside my control as a contractor. That's the way it was built. So we can discuss those points and say, you're right, that's acceptable because you've done the work as best in your ability. The safety officers always like to use a reasonable man test. And come and join us, come and speak to us.
Using the right cable, no sparing,
That's
Class A
it,
wiring, all the basics required need to be followed as per the standards.
Yeah.
And the design is up for, if done by somebody else, is up for discussion.
Correct. We've just done an installation with a gas installation, and the room doesn't pass a room integrity test, which we're going to talk about a bit later on one of the other videos. It's not the contractor's fault that it's not passing that, because it's the building. So I cannot stop you from we won't reasonably stop you from becoming a member, because the control of that building room not being airtight or passing the room integrity test is outside your control.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we're hoping 2025 brings new members.
Definitely.
In the new categories. And we look forward to meeting new companies and sharing knowledge with new players, specifically young new companies coming up.
Always. I mean, we all getting old.
We're all getting old. Even me, when I first started, I was far younger. I've aged 12 years.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
I've aged 25, but we're expecting new young members.